Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and you're watching another live Q&A with you and me. Why is it live? Because I really don't like editing video, which makes it really weird because I'm also one of those daily vloggers in the classic YouTube channel where all the tech and geek and general Chris Pirillo stuff has been since, I'm not looking at a real watch, but I can tell you it was 2006. I like doing these videos, telling you what's on my mind, and today I'm going to be answering another question, because that's what I do in the Q&A with you and me. I do 5 of these videos every week. 4 of them are exclusive to my patrons at chrispirillo.com. 1 of them is for the public. So you can't say that I'm throwing you a bone. Not a physical bone. Don't expect, I don't know, I didn't want to cause any kind of PTSD. If you've ever been the type of person who had a bone thrown at you, it could happen at some point, and I don't mean to offend anybody who doesn't have bones in their body. I'm just saying that I'm doing the best I can here, people. Today's question is nothing to do with bones, by the way. Today's question is, will interface...
Hello, world.
Shut up, Chris! Cheese and crackers! This is the problem when you... It's been a long weekend. It's not even the weekend anymore. I gotta move on to the next weekend. Here we go. I had the watch page open in the background, and that just scared myself. Apparently, it evacuated the bladder. Things that I do not need to show you now. Han, do we have any diapers yet? Oh boy. Okay, so I had the watch page open in the background so I could read the detailed question. The general question, will interface ever seem so common that the tech fades away? I love this question, by the way. I love this question. Patron Tom Brown asks this. We are seeing an ever-increasing amount of products that go beyond the level of interaction that is currently commonplace today, i.e. brainwave, mind reading, virtual reality like the Oculus Rift, glassesless 3D, and holographics. Do you think we'll get to a point when the interface becomes so real and effortless that the technology will seem to fade away? In the near future, what effect will these kind of technologies have on the entertainment arena? What privacy issues will arise from these things? Well, I don't know if I can speak to every single aspect of the question, but it's a very detailed question. It's a fantastic question because I'm already at the point where I believe that technology is getting increasingly pervasive. Every year, it gets easier and easier to do something. And in some cases, that's not a good thing. And I think Tom even kind of alluded to this in relation to privacy issues that could arise. Sometimes, you put data out there and you don't realize that you're putting it out there. And like today, there was a big, an article posted on a blog, and this to me is a non-issue, where in Google Maps, you can set it where it tracks you. Well, this is a setting that I believe is toggled by default. Well, if you don't want Google Maps to track, when you went from here to here to here to here to here, well, at least in iOS, you open up Google Maps, go to settings, and then you just toggle it. You go into the tracking, and it says, no, I don't want my data to be saved, and that's it. That's a non-issue, but most people won't necessarily go that far in terms of the data that they might put out there. But there's so much data out there that's like impossible to keep from that. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you just going to completely avoid the internet at any point? I just don't think that's practical either. So, I think that as technology becomes more and more invisible, it's still there. It could also give rise to things that you just would never expect to happen. So, for example, let's say you're on an open wireless network and you don't know the network, you can't trust the network, and it's in a coffee shop or something, and you're just checking email or whatever, and it's not over a secure connection. Well, you don't know who else is on that network, but you just assume you're fine. I'm gonna go one step backwards. When I was traveling recently, I witnessed at least 3 gentlemen sitting in the airport, or in and around the 2 airports that I was in and out. Not In and Out, it wasn't a burger. There were no In and Outs at the airport. There should be. That would make airports amazing. I would love what is it? A double-double? Is that the double-double? Animal style. That's right. I love protein. Love me to protein. So now I'm hungry for a burger. Honey, do we have any burgers? What do we have? Veggie patty. Oh, God. It's a veggie patty. No, there's no corn in the veggie patty. I do know that. I do not allow corn in this house. Liz, really, you gotta watch videos at the time that I'm live broadcasting here.
I'm bored.
Yeah, I'm bored. That's just great. So, God, I'm glad this video is live and going out to the world right now. I'm in the airport. No in and outs. I was in and out on the trip. That's where my mind was. So, the people with laptops, I could just look at what they were doing. I could just watch. I can see what they were doing. I can see exactly what they were doing on their screen, and if they didn't take the time to protect what was on the screen, I mean, who knows what I would have seen. You gotta, sometimes people, look at things and expect that they're fine in doing what they're doing now because technology is just everywhere and they just kind of take it for granted, and because of that sometimes their guard gets let down, and sometimes then they get let down, right? When they're on a public Wi-Fi network and they're sharing data without realizing that they're sharing data about themselves. I think that if it's beyond privacy issues, I think it's just a safety issue more than privacy. I mean, and I think it's swimming in the same circle, not swimming in circles, but swimming in the same circle around that. So technology will become increasingly invisible. I'm not just talking virtual reality, which is still kind of a gimmick. I'm not talking about augmented reality, which is, again, still kind of in gimmick mode. I'm talking about like wireless electricity. That is transformative. That because you just don't think about it. You won't think about plugging anything in, ever. The internet, and wireless signals. You just don't. Right now, we don't even think about it. It's just there. We assume it's there. In fact, when it's not there, people get upset. This is one of the things that in hosting our event this weekend, Vlogger Fair 2014 in Seattle, one of the big complaints is that we didn't have Wi-Fi for people. And the way I look at it is, number one, it was a pretty big cost for us to bring Wi-Fi in, and with 2,000 people in the building, I don't know how well it would have worked. The second thing is that there was an event where you got to meet people face to face. Why? Even in waiting in line, why would you want to be online, connecting with friends when you've got your friends around you, man? Just spend some time talking to people in real. I thought that was a bonus. Some people disagreed with that, but it was kind of a bonus. People expect wireless to be there, and when it's not there, they kind of go through this nomophobia, and that's a real word. It's like nomophobia. If you feel disconnected, that state of being disconnected from something. And some people like, I need a man. They call junkies and stuff. And hey, I love an internet connection as much as the next person, but it gets to the point where you expect it to be there. When it's not there, suddenly your life is somehow impeded. But I can't imagine that the people who took the time to come to that event, they felt that they lost anything because they couldn't get online. They may wanted to share that moment immediately, and maybe the immediacy didn't happen, but they still, for the most part, the people who went, if we had 90% of the 2,000 people who came had a good time, I think we did pretty well. I think that technology, the wireless technology, or just the technology of bringing people together, can sometimes get in the way of real experiences. In terms of, and so I'm talking around, our humanity, the condition of connecting with one another, using technology as a conduit. I believe the internet is really more of a series of connections between people than it is machines. Yes, it's nice to have the machines connect to one another, don't get me wrong, but I think that it's really brought us together as a race, a human race. I think we're all together in this. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what your beliefs are. If you believe in the live and let live type of philosophy, you don't expect to project your beliefs onto somebody else. We're good. I'm good. But that's just me. And sometimes technology gives people the excuse to kind of step over those boundaries, or even for people who put their part of their life on social. Had this issue with Robin Williams, or at least I saw it play out. So many people were surprised because of what he suffered from in his own head, or the issues that he was going through. People only saw a fraction of what he did in his life, as an actor or a comedian or a father or anything. He was just a sliver of who he was. It didn't surprise me. People, you can't expect the whole picture when people only give you a fraction. Even when you think you got a full picture, even when you have bits and pieces, that does not mean that the full picture exists. It may be in your head, but that doesn't mean it's real. And the internet gives people the illusion that, social media gives people the illusion that you really know people, and you don't. You don't. Flat out, you just do not. You don't. No one has the right to judge somebody else, unless, of course, they're doing things that they should not be doing. And again, finding happiness as long as it doesn't sacrifice somebody else's happiness. I think that is really the best way to go. And I think that falls in line with technology and responsibility with technology. That becomes important the more and more it melts away. And it's going to happen. The idea of a user interface, the idea of a computer, the idea of a smartphone, 20 years from now, they're going to be laughing at us. Really, they're going to be laughing at us like we laugh at previous generations, like, oh my God, rotary dial? Are you fax? Are you serious? I laugh at fax people now. Some people send faxes. I'm like, why? Some people do. So, I think these are important things to talk about. I'm excited about where it's going. Technology just kind of melting into the background and just letting us have a better life. And a better life for ourselves and with one another. And coming together as a global society. So in terms of how those types of technologies outside the entertainment arena, because again, I'm talking like when I talked about augmented reality and 3D glasses and all those things, the entertainment industry is always interested seemingly in finding things that are going to attract more people to buy into the products. But it always boils down to, even with those media products, the basis, good story, good characters, good plot, good experiences, and then after that, then you worry about the other things that technology might be able to enhance. But a 3D movie that's a horrible movie in 2D is still a horrible movie in 3D. It's just that at that point the 3D becomes a gimmick, and you may be able to add a couple of enhancements to it, but ultimately it goes back to the basics of a really good story. So I think beyond the entertainment industry, it's finding where technology actually benefits someone rather than being a hassle. And it's getting there. Like, this is the thing that I think caught the entire PC industry by surprise. The moment smartphones and tablets kind of took off, well, suddenly you have this concept where they're usable. They're more usable, easier to do things on. You don't have to worry about messing up your entire system when you have to install an application. And honestly, I don't think the PC industry was ready. I don't think they were ready for the usability leap. And I think smartphones and tablet PCs, or at least running newer versions of Android, whether they're modified or stock, or iOS, even to a certain degree Windows Phone, better experiences than traditional PCs for doing things that you could have done otherwise. And I look to people like my dad, and in how for years he had Windows Movie Maker on Windows XP. I remember showing him. I was like, you could do the movie here. You put the video in. It was a pain in the neck. He edits video on iMovie on his iPad now. Used to do it on his iPhone, but it's easy for him. See, technology, for it to work, it doesn't have to be difficult. And the people who try to make it difficult are not doing the world any favors. And usability, I think, is the next forefront. And as it continues to melt away into the background, by default, it becomes more usable. Like, why are we still dealing with credit cards? These physical card things. Why? Why are we still dealing with outmoded forms of communication? I don't just mean voice. There are so many things that technology can help with today that is just not being adopted because infrastructure just doesn't exist. We have not yet caught up to the powers of technology, which is scary to a large degree, especially when something goes awry on a personal level or a substantially larger level. As technology becomes more and more invisible, the interface of technology becomes more and more invisible. We become reliant on it, and as we become reliant on it, it becomes a part of our human condition. There is a movement, I believe it's called Transhumanism. Transhumanism. It's basically the idea that cyborgs. We're going to be able to do a meld with technology. And don't get me wrong, I will be the first to line up. I will be first in line to do this. If I could swallow a pill and suddenly have mastered every part of mathematics and physics I ever could master, I'd do that. It's all chemicals, man. It's all switches. It's all electronics. It's just a matter of time, I think, before we're going to be able to do something like that. Is that scary? Well, yeah, it might be scary. I mean, imagine someone gets a hold of a pill and suddenly it's got things in your head that you didn't generate on your own. At what point does it become so easy and so usable that it actually destroys us? So these are great philosophical topics to talk about. These are the kind of questions I love, honestly. This is I could go on a whole evening, if not an entire weekend, talking with people about these topics and experiences and thoughts. I love talking about this stuff, which is why I'm a horrible tech YouTuber, I admit. This is why I don't get a lot of traction, because I don't want to talk about the latest gadget just because it's the latest gadget. I want to talk about how it changes lives, how it transforms. So I'm interested in diving deep into a lot of these topics, and hope people who are watching this video appreciate it. Maybe we can have a decent conversation. Don't have to agree on everything, and certainly I'm willing to entertain a deeper discussion and kind of answer the next question if you have a want, need, and desire to know what it is that I think about it. And obviously, if you watch this deeply into the video, I assume you want to know what the hell I'm talking, or you want to know my perspective, not just what the hell I'm talking about in general. So thank you, Tom, for asking the question. Fantastic question. Loved it, loved it, loved it. If I can talk about it for minutes on end, it's a good question. Of course, I could take one question and go a completely different direction with it. You never know when it comes to Chris Pirillo and talking on YouTube. So thank you again for your support. Thank you, patrons, for supporting this endeavor. You make it really easy to do what it is that I do for you and for the world. So without patrons and without supporters who aren't patrons, I'm thinking, by the way, I didn't mention this in TLDR. I'm thinking about calling my general community Gnomies again. You don't have to be anything special. You just love the world of Pirilloism, or LockerGnome, Chris Pirillo, even my family. You're Gnomies. You are my Gnomies. What's up, my nomies? You like that, Lit? Are you paying attention, or are you still bored? Got a Canadian in the room. It's translation. Oh, and this is the problem. I don't know if you knew. I got to translate the entire video in French now. Otherwise, she can't pay attention. It's a law.
Yeah, French first in Quebec.
Oh, French first.
Yeah, so the language police are coming after.
Oh, great, language police. Just what I needed. So, anyway, I'm thinking about going to Nomies. Everyone's a Nomie. And then the patrons, I got to think like bonus, I got to think of super Nomies. They'll be, instead of calling them patrons, I got the Nomies and the super Nomies. That way, everyone's a Nomie. Zzz. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your support. At this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. We'll see you later.